What is up, everybody? Welcome to another video. Let's talk boxing. Let's talk a little recap. I know I'm a little late. I've been sick. Turns out I'm not the only one that's been sick. A lot of people have been catching the flu, especially if you have family and friends, and you hang around them a lot. You're probably gonna catch something. If you're one of these lonely people, you're probably gonna be fine. I'm messing with you guys. I really don't know. But I'm good now. I mean, you can kind of still hear my nose still a little bit stuffed. Um, and I rewatched the fight. I think I've seen it only 2 times the day of, and I just finished watching it a couple of minutes ago. You know, and I think I'm gonna watch it a third time because it was an interesting fight. It's very strategic, but I think ultimately, it comes down to who had more in the tank. Because Tyson, he had the tools to beat Usyk. He just didn't have um, the energy and the gas tank to do what needed to be done. And it's just, I mean, that's pretty much what it comes down to. I mean, we go into strategy, where there was a lot of strategy involved, right? And I think Usyk is one of these guys that knows what to do in each step. And most boxers do. They have what to do where scenario type implanted in their brains, um, consciously or subconsciously. But Tyson is one of these guys that has this kind of like a computer brain that if you manage to beat him in one of the rounds, within that round, he's going to make an adjustment, you know. And the thing about Usyk is that even the rounds that he lost, against Tyson, where Tyson was doing well, um, Usyk still managed to do something within that fight that made you think, Usyk is still in it, and Usyk is still pressing the action, in a way to where you feel like he still has a chance. But when Usyk was winning, some of the rounds, it kind of felt like the fight was dead in a way, and Tyson wasn't really, doing much in those rounds. And the fight itself, it didn't even seem like a fight. It seemed like he was almost hypnotizing Tyson in a way to where he wasn't really doing much. And the best boxers in the world know how to do this. They know how to almost sleep their opponents. It's very subtle movements that fighters know to do that it kind of sleeps your opponent in a way. It's like this. It's like you got somebody in front of you, right? And most people, they know when they're in a fight, they know that they want to punch and they want to land on their opponents. That's pretty much all they know. Most 99.9% of people know that what they want is to land a punch. But what they don't know subconsciously is that their brains know when and how they can land certain punches. And not only that, but they could be incorrect or correct, right? It doesn't matter, but they're thinking about that and waiting for those opportunities. Now, with a fighter like Usyk, those opportunities rarely come. And you looking at somebody like Usyk or these types of fighters that sleep your opponents, They know how to sleep the enemy. Um, the opponent that's fighting someone like Usyk realizes halfway through the round that he's spending too much time trying to figure out where he could land. And because of that, he's getting landed on. And not only that, but the round is almost done, and he hasn't really landed that much. Why? Because Usyk he's not staying in positions where he can be landed on. And I know I probably went through hoops and loops to try to explain that, but a lot of fighters, well, not a lot of fighters. There's very few fighters that are very good at that. One of them was Floyd Mayweather. Another one is Usyk, and I guess you could say Pernell Whitaker in a way, but Pernell Whitaker wasn't the same as these guys because Pernell would taunt people and would set traps, and Tyson and Mayweather, they don't really risk that. They create illusions like they seem to be closer than they are, and then they pull back, right? Like, for example, Mayweather, he would create an illusion. That's kind of like setting a trap, but he was never really there. Like create an illusion like he's closer by leaning slightly forward. Which is something people say never to do. Well, he would do that on purpose to create an illusion like he was closer, when really his feet were way off of range, and all he had to do is pull back slightly and come over the top. It's called the pull counter. And also the angle in which he would set up this shot was an angle that if you knew anything or if you were aware at the moment, the angle that he was setting it up on, it's impossible to land from that angle. So it's just an illusion. Like most of the time when he was setting that up, he was kind of taunting his opponents, like, "Hey, you can land on me if you want," and people would see that and go for it. And it was a trap. So that was kind of like a trap. I guess you could call that a trap as well. But um, I guess what I'm trying to say is Pernell was more of a he's just different in my opinion. Personally, he's just different than Mayweather and Usyk in a sense, because he did a lot more moving with his body. And for example, Usyk does most of his movements with his legs, and Mayweather, he does a couple of things. He uses his guards. He uses his opponent's own defense. For example, that's another thing that is underrated from Usyk, is that Usyk is waiting for you to put up that guard, that classic guard, or for you to shell up, because he wants to come over the top with haymakers. And it's one of these things that a lot of people don't know how to use their opponent's own guard as almost like pillars to hide behind. And not only that, but you could even trap your opponent's arms within their guard. So you come over the top with a haymaker, a devastating haymaker, and that's actually how he knocked them out how he knocked Tyson down in the first fight. Was by doing that, by coming over the top with his haymakers. Now, of course, he wasn't able to do that as much in this fight. And a testament of that is that Tyson was not knocked down in this one. And it was basically because, mainly because Tyson knew not to shell up, and believe that a shell. That's what I'm saying. Like a lot of people say, keep your hands up, and that's gonna save you. It's not. Like I know me, if I know how to do that, if I know how to use your guard as a weapon against you, you think Usyk doesn't know how to do that? Usyk that's what he wants you to do. He wants you to shell up and keep your hands up. Because why do you think his lead hand is constantly searching up and down and touching at that guard. He wants to keep that guard up. So that to him, that's a dream. That's why he beats fighters like Anthony Joshua so easily, because they rely too much on that high guard, and they don't know that that high guard is actually blinding them from from seeing what someone who's smaller is doing. You know, but Usyk is a master. You know, he won most of the fight with his lead hand. He did land, you know, of course with his rear hand, but most of the fight was most of the battle was won with his lead hand. Um, Tyson was doing very well as well. I like Tyson in the second round in particular, and ninth, 10th, 11th. You know, were pretty good rounds for Tyson. But if you notice in those rounds, you could tell that if Tyson, and this is my personal opinion, I don't think Tyson is in tip top shape. You know, and even if he is, um, maybe this is all he could have ever given. Because if you think about it, he hasn't fought somebody as fast as Usyk. You know, and that moves as much as Usyk. You know, so if you think about it, it seems to be that Tyson can only do well against fighters that are that either don't move as much as he does, or don't have that much gas in their tank, conditioning wise, or guys that aren't as fast as him, or are as fast as him, but not faster than him. You know, because once he gets in there with a guy who's faster and has a better tank than him, you know, well, it's really boxing and fighting in general, guys. It comes down to how much energy you have. You know, of course, if you have some crazy technique that ends the fight faster, then of course that's gonna be um, helpful. But 9 times out of 10, the guy who could throw more and last longer is gonna win. This is why Mexican fighters are some of the best, is because they throw a lot of punches and they last a long time. They're gonna last. They're gonna be there until you knock them out. Um, so but Usyk is definitely one of these fighters. But the thing about Usyk is he picks his shots, and his offense is not always punching. And that's the thing that I was telling you guys before, is that a lot of people, 99.9% of people that fight or that box, know one thing. They know that they want to punch and they want to land on their opponents. You know, but they don't know the other stuff. You know, they don't know what to do when they're not punching. They don't know what to do when their guard is up. They don't know what to do when the other guy isn't making it a fight. He's just standing around waiting. They don't know what to do, you know, to fill up those spaces. And the thing is, the people that know how to fill up those spaces are going to win most fights. I mean, Usyk is one of these guys, you know, that knows how to fill up those spaces. He knows how to dip, dodge, you know, when he needs to dip and dodge. He knows how to go to the body when he needs to go to the body. He knows how to feint when he needs to feint. He knows how to jam his opponents when he needs to jam his opponents. You know, there's so many things you can do in a fight. You know, you don't always have to be landing on your opponent. And that's what Tyson, you know, where Tyson made his main mistake was that he only knew that he had to land on his opponent, and he didn't know what to do in the parts where the guy was feigning at him. You know, the parts where the guy was trying to figure out, you know, his. This is what I would do. Okay, like if I was fighting someone like Usyk, I think Tyson let him plan out his stuff too long. You know, Usyk in the first round, he always does this thing with his lead hand So he goes up and down, up and down, up and down, right? And he circles around your lead hand. And he's trying to bait you. He's trying to see what you're gonna do. And then according to what you do, he's going to react to that. Now you gotta stop that. You gotta nip that on the butt immediately. You know, by interrupting that lead hand. You know, in order to stop the movement of a guy like Usyk, you have to square up to him. You have to, because Usyk, if you stay aligned with Usyk, meaning if you keep the fight, um, what I like to call traffic. Okay, if you keep the fight in traffic, um, most heavyweights are not gonna be faster than him. So why would I fight in traffic against a guy like Usyk? So what you got to do is eliminate that by squaring up to him, and that eliminates his lead hand. And then what is he gonna do? I don't know, because nobody's ever done it to him. So somebody needs to eliminate that lead hand by squaring up to him. And I thought Tyson and the Crunk Gym was gonna be able to do something about it, but it turns out that the footwork was lacking. You know, now what do I mean by squaring up? Because a lot of people say don't square up to your opponents, right? Squaring up means that both both your lead leg and your lead foot are pretty much right next to each other and facing your opponent. The only rule here is that you either have to um, be on one side or the other, right? And a good example of this is Julio Cesar Chavez. He would square up to his opponents. He wasn't a guy that was using a true boxer stance like Tyson and a lot of other boxers do. He was using more of a open, more squared up stance, similar to Tyson, similar to Foreman, like this. Now, the reason you want to fight southpaws like this is because, like I said, it eliminates their lead hand, and it gets you close to where you can land. You can both turn it into a brawl. And we haven't seen what happens to Usyk when somebody does that immediately off the gate. We see what happens when he gets kind of tired and he gets hit to the stomach a couple of times, and he goes into flurry mode, and he starts throwing haymakers. So he could punch hard because it works for him most of the time. He's like, oh, I'm in trouble, and he starts throwing flurries and throwing haymakers. So this is why they call him the cat, because when he's in danger and when he feels pain, he starts he starts throwing hands, bro. And like I said, most of the time this is able to save him. But my thing is, off the gate, if you do this to him, if you square up, if you eliminate the traffic line, at least that's what I call it, and fight him from a squared up angle, what would he do? Another good example of someone who fights this way and someone who fought a southpaw, and was successful, whether he did it on purpose or, subconsciously, was Benavidez versus Andrade. So if you watch that fight, Benavidez versus Andrade, is a southpaw, and he's always been successful off of that southpaw stance. Southpaws, they have similar styles with that lead hand kind of probing, and circling around your lead hand, trying to figure out what you like to do and stuff like that. But what helped Benavidez out so much was that he had a very squared up stance, and he's always had a very squared up stance, and that eliminated the lead hand of Usyk. I mean, sorry, I was thinking about doing it to Usyk, but eliminated that lead hand of Andrade. Demetrius Andrade. Um, he that was his game plan. That's most boxers' game plan stems from their lead hand, their jab, their probing hand, and they're not ever able to cope past that a lot of times. Now, do I think that's the case with Usyk? Probably not. Um, but I haven't seen it. That's the thing. Nobody's tested it, and that brings me to my question of the day: is Usyk a all-time great? Now, of course, people say that the level of boxing nowadays is very low, so in that case, that means no, right? But I don't think that that is a fair assessment. I don't think that that is a fair way to look at it because no boxer fights in any other boxer's era. For example, when Mayweather um, was called the best, right, and was called one of the greatest, nobody. Well, some people did say, he's not better than Roy Jones Jr. or he's not better than Ray Robinson or Sugar Ray Leonard or Duran or all of these guys from the past. But that's not the question. The question isn't would these fighters be great in any era? No. The question is he one of the all-time greats? And the way you dictate that is his accomplishments and the people he beat at the time. Now, the reason a lot of people call him Ali the greatest is because he beat a lot of top level opponents, a lot of the top level people that people were talking about in the day. He didn't take a long time to fight him. He fought him immediately. And not only that, but he humiliated them. Just imagine a fighter in this decade fighting all of the top guys, all right, considered top or actually have accomplished um, great things. Okay, now think about that. You got Usyk, you got Tyson, you got Anthony Joshua, you got um, who else? Who else? Du Bois or Dubois. Dubois, I think is Dubois. Let's put in Wilder in there. Let's put in Zile Zhang. Let's put in Bacoli or Broccoli, whatever you want to call them. All of these heavyweights. That's a lot of heavyweights. Well, in order for somebody to be as great as um Ali, you would have to beat all of those guys, whether they have a belt or not, whether they're A side or B side, whether they have anything to offer to the table or not. You would have to fight and humiliate those guys. Okay, and I'm talking about Ali before he was exiled or whatever. Before he decided not to go to war against Filipinos. Was it? I'm sorry, Vietnam. you know, and that was before that. Okay, after that, that's when people talk about it the most because um, that's when he was more beatable and people wanted to see him get beat. Right, but before that, the dude was unstoppable, bro. He was beating up all of these guys that would be the same as beating those people that I just mentioned right now. So, what am I trying to say with this is that there hasn't been a fighter like Ali in a long time because of that, you know. Um, but we can't compare, right? Because times are different or whatever. But what we can do is, compare according to the time. Okay, now, is the level of boxing now low? Yes, but that doesn't matter because the stuff that Usyk is doing, you know, he's doing all the right things. He especially when it comes to his technique. When it comes to his strategy, the way he keeps his lead foot on the outside of his opponent, the way he probes with the lead jab, with the lead hand, which is the jab. I call it a lead hand because I don't want people to make their mentality a jab. I have to touch him. I have to jab him. So I like to say lead hand. That way you can be malleable with your hand. You know, but I don't want to get into that. But the point is, a lot of the things he's doing, you know, he's not making any mistakes, in my opinion. Now, of course, you look at his opponents and you see the things they're doing and the things they're unable to do, and you realize that yes, the level of boxing is low, but that's not his fault because he's doing all the right things. It would be another thing if he sucked, like for example, and I gotta say it, you know, Wilder, right? Wilder, he does not have good technique. He doesn't have good footwork. He doesn't have, um, he does have good fundamentals. I will say that because you got to remember, he was an Olympic bronze medalist, and that is, that's something for sure. You can't take that away from him. And be it that's what he was, that's what he accomplished, you have to give him respect for that. Having said that, you can't deny that there's a lot of things he does in there that are unconventional as far as fighting goes. A lot of things that he does that he wouldn't be able to get away with if he didn't have that crazy punching power. And he still has it because if you ask usyk, he says, "Yeah, it's real. I was just able to withstand it." You know, um, but 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 yeah. So I think Usyk, as far as right now, he should go down as an all-time great because he fought everybody that he needed to fight. Just like Ali. You can't say that about a lot of fighters from the recent past, from the 2000s, except for maybe Oscar De La Hoya. You know, let's be honest, Mayweather, even though he was a very good fighter, very good technical fighter, a very good defensive fighter, there's a lot of fights that he didn't take that we wanted him to take. He didn't fight Thurman, he didn't fight Winky Wright, he didn't fight Margarito, even though Margarito got caught with plaster of Paris. I think that's what it's called. He didn't fight Paul Williams. A lot of people were talking about these guys connected to Mayweather, and Mayweather just didn't fight them. He just some of them he even dug. I think he dug Winky Wright for sure. You know, he was gonna fight Mosley at one point, but then he decided not to fight him and fight him later on down the line. So it's a lot of things that you could say about him and put asterisks on Mayweather, and you could put asterisks on a lot of these guys. But Usyk, he fought everybody, dude. Like he literally fought everybody. The only person he didn't fight from the big names is Wilder and Ruiz, in my opinion. And that's pretty much it. Everybody else he fought. Of course you could try to put in Broccoli in there, but Broccoli wasn't relevant until a couple of months ago, in my opinion. So that's my opinion. I think he is an all-time great. I think we need to judge him from this angle. We can't judge him from any other angle because this is the angle we got him in. You can't. It wouldn't be fair to compare any fighter from any other era to any other era. It just doesn't make any sense. Because then we would have to eliminate Mayweather as well. But I know a lot of you won't do that because you're Mayweather nut huggers. Listen, I'm a Mayweather fan too. I emulate his style a lot. I take a lot from him. But I'm also, you're never going to see me lick balls like that. I'm not a ball licker. That's not my style. Um, but anyways, guys, that is going to be it for today. Please like, comment, and subscribe.